Speaking of reacting to the plan as it happens, does anyone have any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round up?
I do.
Okay. Fire away.
You are two not hostages. Know that we are kindred.
Without any doubt, it is clear, based on how they're holding themselves and their apparent bravery, almost as if you know that the person is carried, concealed, as if you know that the person has come with their armory, and yet you still demand being treated with the respect you feel you are owed. It is evident in their breathing, in their watchfulness, in their focusing on various members' mouths that are visible, focusing on eyes, looking at fingers. It is clear that they are in the know.
My only question is, what is Seth's situation at this moment? The last thing he remembers is the Kumbaya moment.
No, you didn't check the clearly responded to prompts, but that gives us a good point. So that we are all aware. One quick second, I'm bringing that up.
Oh, there it is. You didn't put a fucking marker on it. God damn it. That's my fault. It's because I'm a fucking Discord
old man.
Read it.
No, it's understandable. So that we are all aware. Allow me to do a dramatic reading. No, I'm kidding. No dramatic reading, but to bring us into where we are at the start of where we will be at the start of our episode. There is a god in the grove, and when it speaks, its voice may not be heard by any but the devout. It may not be understood by any sleeper, nor may it be recognized by any save those capable of dreaming deeply enough to believe in the impossible. The phrase stays with Seth even as the instance of what took place doesn't. As the usual evening oblations fill his time, he is sure that as the switch was thrown, that a wealth of things occurred. He can feel a warmth to his skin as if he danced in the sun. There is a pressing hunger that was not there prior, and he smells rose on his skin. Everywhere the many scratches in his flesh need mending. Hundreds of small cuts, nicks, scratches, and abrasions. He'd ignore them, save the tears match those in his clothing, along with the held fast, bloody branch festooned with small rose bush-like thorns in his hand. When dying for the day, kindred don't dream. For them, no time passes. Yet it would seem as if he had sleepwalked wherever he is. He can hear muffled voices and the sounds of his coterie. Taking a small look around, he realizes he is in a trunk.
God damn it. Why I always gotta end up in the trunk of a car? What the fuck?
Well, we all have hobbies. Can't knock sets.
I'm not helping.
So, as I believe we've wrapped most of the questions that are persisting, and everyone remembers where they are, arriving back once more at the Piscateers to get the hostages settled and safe.
Hostages.
I would like to thank you all for all of the time that we have shared across Chicago, Dalton, i.e. Thornton Township, Gary, all of the visits to Indianapolis, to Milwaukee, and to places far off the beaten track that we have visited and explored. It has been a pleasure, and I look forward to all of the moments that will come after. Because we, for the record, are officially beginning in the shadow of the White City, Season 5, finale and epilogue, The Private Rites of Provincial Magic. The coterie exiting the vehicle. We will begin in alphabetical order.
Well, last week we had already stopped with her going downstairs and telling Calabalarshi that they had guests and asking him to be a gentleman. So. And then she gave the girls a room for themselves that has very little, if any, equipment in it to stay, and then gathered everybody back up so they could head out to the party.
All right, Frost, what are you doing?
He would follow Dia as her technical bodyguard.
Okay,
If he
in
wasn't
fact, the only
assigned
one.
to. Yep.
So stepping out of the vehicle, following behind Dia, is there anything that Frost is attempting? Is there any thought in Frost's mind?
Where the fuck Seth is. He's worried about his old partner.
Okay. So, balaclavaed up, or just simply as invisible as he can, Muzan exiting the vehicle is...
Muzan is going to be sticking with the two totally not hostages, and basically just keeping them company while everyone is walking away. He might probe them with a few questions here and there, just out of curiosity about what exactly they think their situation is.
Okay. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your charisma and subterfuge, because there is a point that he's trying to get to and a bit of understanding, but he's not trying to show his hand in the process of doing so, is he?
No. He's definitely not trying to show his hand. Muzan is still at 0 hunger.
Okay. So, to make a short story shorter, they are very much under the impression that you all are protecting them from the repercussions of all the choices that they've made that led them here. And while they understand that certain things had to be worked out, they have no illusions that they are in fact being kept. even with all the brash, big, bad, brave talk of needing to work things out, they are sure that until certain negotiations are settled, that their true agency of choice isn't a factor.
Did we lose you, storyteller?
No, did you hear me?
We heard that their true situation is, in fact, and then you cut off.
Oh, wow. That is not good. That means that Discord is acting its occasional self. They are not under any illusion that their true agency of choice is, well, dependent on certain other things being worked out. So even if they decide that tonight would be the night, or tomorrow will be the night, until certain factors are worked out beyond their control, they wouldn't have the say to leave. That is not, they are not under that illusion. Unfortunately, there's a saying that a little knowledge is a dangerous thing, and they have more than a little bit of knowledge. So they do realize what danger they actually may possibly be in.
Yeah, so you understand who exactly you were under the quote-unquote care of, right?
Small frown as they look at each other, and it's a gaze and a glimpse that it is clear that they have spent far more than a little bit of time around each other. Because in that look, indiscernible with that small hint of a frown, and that quirk of the lips, and the head nod. Yeah, of course. We understand. We know.
Right. Anyway, you too hungry?
Yes.
Alright, let's go inside and get you a bite to eat or something.
As you all walk into the Piscateers, Zach, as you are exiting the vehicle, what is on Zach's mind?
Well, Jack has offered to tell Stella a little story that is similar to the situation she's going through, and he has not yet received a reply as to whether or not she would be up for that offer. But he won't tell the story until he gets back from the party.
What story?
Hold on, let me go to play by post. Basically a story about feeling like you've been betrayed by someone you loved and someone who protected you.
Okay. So Zach is working towards finding some middle ground, finding a way to connect with the two college students, to find a way to connect with their hostages so that it doesn't quite feel as aggressively kidnapped like that it is.
Well, more along the lines of he's trying to display some level of empathy.
Okay. That being the case...
Because, well, as many vices as Zach has, he's still a nice guy at the end of the night. Or at least he tries to be a nice guy.
Okay, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your manipulation and persuasion for me, please?
Okay, manipulation, persuasion. Alrighty.
In the course of trying to connect with their hostages, Zach manages to find some middle ground of commonality, some way to assuage their no small measure of rising guilt. Because at the end of the day, as much as the coterie is attempting to distance themselves, there's no doubt what they are. And they can use all the euphemisms to, oh, we're just babysitting. Oh, we're just keeping products safe. We're just keeping an eye on them to keep them safe from all of the harm that could potentially befall them. But the truth of the matter is, even when doing what is perceived to be a good deed, because it will help the coterie in the long run, even when simply helping a friend, i.e. the Castiglione and Tories in this particular case, there is no doubt that repercussions would fall upon them if either of the two of their guests were not here when the Castigliones come a-calling again. There's no shadow of a doubt that in the maintenance and protection of these guests, part of what they are protecting them from is their ability to flee into the night at a moment's notice. And despite all of the polite conversations and many things in between, the reality is that the coterie will have to make a decision as to how far they might be attempting to go to maintain their guests' safety against anything and everyone, including themselves. And for modern sensibilities, the denial of anyone else's agency very much is akin and is kidnapping. Forceful babysitting. And speaking of forcefully babysat, the darkness of the trunk is an amazing thing. And it's one of those few things that you never really think about how comfortable your trunk is or might be, unless, of course, you have the unfortunate opportunity to lounge within it. And even dead flesh, as all kindred are, has a limit to the amount of time it can be in a relatively cramped space. Have I lost you guys?
No, I still hear you.
No, we can hear you.
Present.
Seth, did we lose you?
No, you didn't lose me. I forgot to unmute.
Okay.
Seth is aware of modern cars and modern problems. Is this a modern car?
In the dark, it'd be hard to tell.
There should be, if it's a modern car, a bright white or bright orange full tab so that people can't get locked into their own trunks. And he's going to spend a minute trying to setting said thing with his phone. He's going to just turn it on, and whatever Facebook without the night version on has a white screen, so he's going to look to see if, because he's trying really hard. He doesn't know why he's in a trunk, so he's going to look really hard to see how he might escape this trunk without alerting everyone around him.
There are various straps over and through and around the trunk. It is literally a clusterfuck of which one may or may not actually open the ceiling or otherwise. Out of 3 that are visible, with the ability to be pulled. Which one does he grab?
He grabs all three. He's not in he doesn't want to be in a trunk, and he's not in the mood. And for some reason, his beast is a little louder than he's used to. So he's just going to grab all three and yank on them real hard.
There's something to be said for modern convenience. In the old days, in the older cars, pretty much 90s and earlier, safety features weren't of the sort to prohibit anyone from losing the ability to escape their trunk. There were no latches for their trunk hood. There were no latches nor pull tabs for the back seat. But luckily, those things are relatively easily retrofitted. And those things are, even in vehicles that are designed for kindred travel, fairly easy. And grabbing all three of the straps, several things happen at once, as they tend to when the coterie is involved. The seat into the cabin falls down into the actual cabin of the vehicle. The trunk on the car goes flying as if it has been ejected, and the spare tire underneath the car hits the pavement. So as the last person in, being Muzan, who was following behind while Zach was speaking with the two girls in front of him, and while Muzan was escorting them. So you want to get something to eat? Let's get you inside and get something to eat. The sound of a metal rim hitting the concrete outside, the sound of the trunk ejecting itself, and a woof with a slight bit of rocking from the car behind them is easily unavoidably noticed.
Seth sits up out of the trunk of the car he's in and immediately tries to figure out whether he needs to shoot somebody or thank somebody.
Well, where the car is parked, you can look across the creek and see the Rosie has already begun business for the night. You can smell the stagnant water of the creek, because while it is a fairly decent man-sized creek and pond, it is standing water. There's certain things that fish do in that water. There are certain outlets that happen in that water, and while the pumping stations for it are concealed beneath the waves, it's not moving nor near as active as an actual stream or creek or a river. There are certain smells that just become invisibly part of what you consider home, and the smell of the creek is definitely one of them.
So I'm outside of the original Rosie, or the...
You're across the creek directly to the east of the Piscateers.
Oh. So, oh Jesus, I am home. So, Seth definitely pops up like a jack-in-the-box, but then gets hit by the smells of home and looks around. I'm assuming he sees like Muzan, the back of Muzan.
Yes.
And it's like, why the hell am I in the trunk of a car?
And I'm assuming at this point Muzan hears.
Yes.
Muzan quickly whips around. Seth? You were the one they stuck in there?
What do you mean stuck in there? What the fuck is going on? Last thing I remember, we were having a kumbaya moment. We just pulled Frost out of fucking torpor. I was giddy on blood juice. And now I'm in the trunk of a car. And when Seth climbs out of the car, it suddenly becomes very noticeable that his skin is paler than it ever was. It's stretched a little bit. He looks like when he performs the magic right before they get into a fight. But he doesn't seem to have exerted himself in any way. And he's annoyed. He's got like that really annoyed Boston face going.
Wait a minute. We were trying to get into. Okay, first of all, you two, and he turns over to Faye and Stella. You two get inside. The grown-ups are talking.
That's condescending, but okay.
Look, it's a private family matter. It ain't for outside ears. Just go inside and ask the bartender to get you a couple drinks or something.
Yeah, whatever. Faye, come on, don't be. All right, whatever. Fine.
And he turns over to Seth. We went through so much shit because we thought you were being held hostage or something by who the fuck was it? Something with, I don't fucking know, but basically Dia thought you were being held hostage by a bunch of people at a like fight club. So we had to get our own person to get into the fight club. But apparently that person was you. So, in order to get someone for the fight club, we had to start taking those two on as basically babysit them for the Castiglione Tories. But now you're here, so what the fuck was the point of that?
The Cassies?
C&T.
The Cassies are Blood Czar people. They're looking for transport. And if they can fool you into transporting for them, they're gonna do it, man. They're gonna take advantage.
But
as far as I'm concerned, all I did was that crazy ritual that fucked me up and got Frost back on his feet. So they may have taken advantage of the fact that I was, at the time, not able to really feed. Because as dialed up as I was, the way I feed doesn't really work anymore. But now I'm feeling like it could work out. I could get back to what I was doing, maybe.
Storyteller, as a quick point of order, has that temporary buff to our blood potency faded by now?
Yes.
Okay.
But my blood potency is jacked. And what a normal neonate would look like. Says still, he doesn't look like an elder, but he definitely looks like somebody who's a little older than he should. And he's a little twitchy. I gave him hunger 2 after the feedings, but he's not gonna feel that the blood he has on him in a flask or in a bottle is going to be as fun as it used to be.
Oh, don't hold any misconceptions. It was never fun. There was the exact sort of obligation that one would have if you were on a liquid diet for the last 5 years, where everything that you could possibly have any semblance of seasoning or any of the things that keep you from doing monstrous acts denied.
Yeah, but for Seth, it was a habit. It was, he ate donuts as a cop because they're high in sugar and high in carbs. He drank blood for the same fucking reasons. He didn't get the really super high, but right now he definitely looks like death microwaved. I mean, he didn't take a humanity loss, but it is apparent for the people who were there when he performed the ritual for blood potency that he did not come all the way back. He is paler than he has ever been, except for in combat. It's obvious, like very obvious, that he is no longer what he was.
Seth, you look like shit. Let's get you inside, give you something to drink, and tell everyone that we apparently don't need to go rescue you.
Well, that would be a very good idea because I don't want to be rescued anytime soon, and I want Dia to be aware that I am much more aware of my surroundings now. How is the senator, by the way? I don't know.
He was worried sick about you.
Oh. Worried sick about me? What the hell?
Yes.
Your guys' job is to keep her worried about her own position. Don't let her fucking worry about me. God damn it. I don't ask a lot. I don't do a lot of weird shit, but the one thing that I want you guys to realize is that Dia is the center of our universe. She could be the next prince.
Careful now.
Yeah, careful now, my ass. You guys are scared of the word. I won't even fucking walk away from it. What she showed before I stopped remembering things, she could be. We could be looking at a praxis. And honestly, I wouldn't mind that much.
I don't know if I'm ready to be under some tower rule yet, but for right now, let's get you inside. The way you're talking right now, you're definitely more out of it than I thought you were.
Seth follows Muzan inside because he actually trusts Muzan. Their past and their present makes him a better match to his mental state. But still, he's like twitchy. Just because the beast is beating him at him. And in a way that he's not used to. Because usually when he gets to this point of potency, he's in combat. But now he lives in this area and it's messing with him. So he follows Muzan in. But like I said, he's not blushing. And he's definitely paler, more vampiric than he is when they normally have their interactions. So anybody who sees him is going to notice a change.
So, without any shadow of a doubt, it is both surprising and annoying that Calabalarshi is so obsequiously agreeing. He doesn't bother to get dressed. He doesn't bother to hide his, well, what most people would consider shame. But inside the boundaries of the Piscateers, there's a certain acceptance of people as they are, not the illusions of them that we paint about those that we share time with. None of the illusions that we hold about ourselves. And in the bald or ball-faced truth of it all, Calabalarshi has always been the person willing, has always been the being willing to dare. He, in the short amount of time as he has made the Piscateers his home, has proven that there is not much that he wouldn't dare for whatever he has chosen to be his ends. The means to get there are all justified by his potential success. So standing face to face with the man, well, face to various other appendages with the man, and having him agree causes the hairs on Dia's neck to stand on end. Causes a small tremulation of, where is the other shoe?
She's looking at him. That was far too easy. What are you up to?
What am I up to? Why would you believe that I am up to anything? Except for what I've already told you. Nothing has changed. There may be more animals in the forest than expected. There may be a higher elevation that we have to surmount, but I was always clear with where we're going.
I've never met a more frustrating person in my life. But
You haven't chosen to deal with them. Doesn't mean that you've met more people more frustrating or less frustrating than me. I guarantee you, most of the people that you would choose to associate with, they're willful, they're petty, their goals change and shift as if they're blowing in the wind. Me? I'm focused.
Yes.
Oh, but I got a trick for you. Have you ever seen one of these? And he begins to helicopter. And there is, without a shadow of a doubt, it is the most hilarious thing and somehow even more frightening because there's a length and a girth that you would not expect for someone of his relatively short stature. There is something disgustingly intriguing about watching the circumference that he is able to reach. Would you be so kind as to roll wits plus occult, please?
You said Rites and what?
Occult.
I literally don't have any occult at all.
All right. Well, in that case, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve? And tell me how many successes you get.
Do I want a willpower?
Do you?
Nah, I'm curious.
You very well should be. Because there is a grove. There's a god in that grove, a sleeping god that is always wakeful and watchful. It is connected to all things, and yet unable to affect them because mankind has been given free will. They've been given agency of thought. They've been given the choice of making decisions for themselves. They have received as much grace as that God holds. And Dia knows that somewhere across the hedge, through the bramble, past the rose bushes, that God has turned his gaze towards the creatures of the night. That God has turned his attention onto the men and the fishers of men. That God has chosen. And as she's standing at and Dia is standing at the bar. She's not quite sure how she got there or how long she's been standing there with the small quaff of a strangely intoxicating whiskey. She can taste the peat. She can taste the very real fact that it has been filtered through charcoal several times and aged approximately, if she was to put a date to it, about 30 years. And the most disconcerting fact of it all, Dia doesn't like whiskey, even during her living days. She takes some gin here and there, maybe a little hint of vodka, but whiskey was never one of the things that appealed to her. It made men horrible drunks and women even worse. It made the public less able to operate with any semblance of kindness to one another. It was a mean drink. The same that most children of the 80s and 90s feel about tequila. It makes people mean. There's just certain spirits that are released. And while that dislike or lack of enjoyment of whiskey sits there in her mind, she hasn't in nearly 100 years partaken of anything that is even remotely human. Food and drink, yeah, she can force it to stay down long enough to dispel it later, but the fact that she clearly has had a mouthful of whiskey, she can still feel the mild caramel scented burn that as it slid down her gullet, she can still feel it swimming there in her stomach, her atrophied, long dead stomach, and there's no rush or need to expel it.
Something's wrong. Something's terribly, terribly fucking wrong right now. She's like wiping at her mouth, like trying to get rid of the flavor, and puts the glass down remembering not to be too forceful because she doesn't want to break the glass, but she puts it down and slides it away like, what even the fuck? And looks around to see who else is there and who saw that.
Well, that's the funny thing about the staff of the Piscateers, the real staff of the Piscateers, the actual Piscateers, at the bar where she's standing. There's not much that escapes their notice, but if asked later, they have no recollection of anything. They see everything, but witness absolutely nothing. The secrets that take place within the boundaries of the actual Piscateers, well, they don't exist. They've never happened.
He looks at the girl behind the bar and tries to play it off. Sorry, what are you children saying that thing to the YOLO or whatever that is? Sorry. It's been a long night already.
No, I completely understand, Miss White. Would you like another for your friend? And she looks towards Frost, who was escorted. Now, mind you, when you all came downstairs, the first thing that Dee did was go and speak with Calabalarshi. You really don't like the man, and you know that if you are too close to him and he's too close to you, that bad things will happen, not just to you, but to the world around you. Moving the furniture would be the least of things that would happen. He has sworn to make your life a living hell. You have sworn silently to yourself that the taste of the entirety of his immortality will be the last thing that he ever experiences. His life draining down your gullet. His life leaking out on some concrete floor, or some forest floor, or hell, the bathroom, the shower, the stairwell, anywhere that the opportunity raises itself. When the time comes, when the contract that he has with the powers that be come to an end, you have sworn to take everything from him. Because at the end of the day, no one threatens your friends. No one threatens your family. No one harms you. And he's managed to do all three. So as you wait, you and Dia head to the bar, and watching her order from a particular bottle that's held underneath the counter is a little bit weird. You've never seen her partake of any of the coffee, and you've never seen her partake of anything. In fact, you've never seen anything pass her lips save the few small moments at Silk's place, where she partook of a donor. But yet here she is, quaffing it as if it was the sweetest of ambrosia, and then immediately rejecting it. Guess it wasn't as special as you thought. And as the bartender asked Dia, would she like to buy one for you or order one for you, what is going through Frost's mind?
Oh, well, he's wishing this guy would just leave us the fuck alone. But he'd sit next to Dia and ask, so what's next on our to-do list?
Well, whoever's in the trunk is getting taken to this fight. Then we have to try to make friends with them and try not to kill any of them. And then hopefully they'll be on our side, which will help us get Seth back somehow. I still don't know how the fuck that's supposed to work.
Yeah. Calabar, she works in mysterious ways.
And as you're saying that, Zach, having settled the girls into their space, making them as comfortable as possible, considering the situation they're in and whatever Mazan's doing upstairs, you exit their room, drawing the door closed behind you, making your way to the bar, finding Dia and Frost there. A glass clearly slid from Dia back towards the bar rail, and you hear Frost saying, Calabalarshi works in mysterious ways.
That kind of steps over and says so that Frost and Dia here, but just the three of them. That he most certainly does. But if I may ask, what brought this on?
Oh, well, we're just talking about to a fight thing, and that's how we're gonna get what's his name back? Death.
How do you not remember Seth's name? You came here with him. You worked with each other for how long? And as far as what brought this on, I don't know, because I feel like something is missing, or that something went wrong a minute ago. And I don't remember coming up here. I went to talk to Calabalashi, and that's the last thing I remember before I remember sitting here and drinking that, which I never drank otherwise.
Did you drink? Y'all know how that works.
Well, they're not at the bankhead that you all have built behind the wall of mirrors, keeping your business from the public business. As Muzan and Seth enter into the space, they find Dia, Frost, and Zach at the bar.
Hey, look who we don't have to save.
What the fuck?
Oh no, that is one less flaming hoop that we have to jump through.
Yes, but we still have to babysit these motherfuckers.
Turns out the Castiglions and Tories were so incredibly generous that they went and saved him for us and shoved him in the trunk.
That's great.
Well, now, isn't this an odd twist of fate?
So it turns out he's actually the worst person. What?
That's what I was going to say. We asked them for the worst of the worst for this dogfight, and they gave us you. What does that say about you, Seth?
I mean, to be fair, have you looked at him lately? He looks like death.
Are we talking about a fight? Like toe-to-toe, knocking somebody in the teeth fight?
Like Fight Club.
And for the record, to give you guys an idea as to what Seth actually looks like, he's clearly unblushed, unroused. He's clearly having experienced a shredding of some sort. His skin is flayed open in places. There are roughly 10,000 different small scratches and scrapes that have managed to tear through his clothing into his flesh. Holding in his left hand is a stick, a switch of about 14 and a half, 15 inches, filled with thorns, as if he cut it from some huge rose bush or drug it with him. There's also the sprinkling in the air, for those of you with any bit of auspice, of a kaleidoscopic effect around him. It's not actually there, but you feel it more than you see it, as if someone took him, bruised and bloodied though he might be, and dusted him with a coating of glitter.
Death is monumentally unaware of a lot of this stuff. He's acting like he feels normal. But the idea of he's supposed to be in a fight in the near and immediate future, it tightens up his already overly pale skin. You've seen him use blood potency as a magical side effect right before a fight, but this is worse because he's not only tight skin and color, but he's grinning, and his fangs are just a little bit out. Like, who am I supposed to be fighting? He's asking this in a weird combination of inquisitiveness and anticipation. You have no doubt that if you pointed at any member of the SI, Sabat, fucking Anarch, or even Camarilla, it wouldn't much fucking matter. If you pointed, he'd go fuck them up if he could. That's the Seth you're dealing with now. That is not the normal Seth you have known and loved and dealt with before. He is borderline feral right now.
Dia's face currently is one of, like, much horror. She is staring at Seth like... One might stare at Muzan, I guess. Just, like, looking at him like, oh, no. Downstairs, now. Cannot have you in open public looking like that. Go downstairs, now.
Yeah, I was about to say, when are you gonna start fixing that up?
Fixing what up? You look great. Let's go.
You look
So
like
now-
shit.
Getting a fight?
And that's coming from me.
Seth follows them downstairs, but is not impressed with the idea that he might look more scary than normal. I'm ready to go. If we got to fight, I'm on it. Why are we fighting them, though? What the hell's the story here, man? I've been in a trunk.
Why didn't you get out of it sooner?
It was unconscious, smartass. You know the thing you're supposed to help me avoid happening?
No, I'm Dia's bodyguard. You're supposed to be able to live on your own.
We can
Wait.
settle this matter another time.
You're telling me that the Castiglione put you in our trunk. That was who was in the trunk.
Yes.
Yes, I was in his trunk. I'm not happy about it. I may have lost your spare tire getting out. I apologize. What the hell is going on, son? The last thing I remember, we were getting frost out. Last time I remember, my blood was on fire. You guys were a half a step from running away from me.
Excellent question. Dia, explain, please.
Dia narrows their gaze looking at Frost and then says, look, okay, remember when Zach came and asked you for the bowl, Seth? Or came and asked about a bowl and then you said you had one? Correct. You remember this?
I remember that.
As a magic user, you said you recognized the spell, correct?
No.
Do you know what Calabalashi told Zach not to do?
Okay, I might be a bit vague on that part of things.
He told me not to let anyone else touch it.
And you handed them the bowl instead of letting them pick the bowl themselves. And because you touched the bowl, doom and destruction are going to happen unless we change our fate. And part of changing our fate is having to get a certain group of Toreador who will have dog fights on our side, and their condition and consideration of dogfights is to get humans who are horrible,
Both looks and personality.
against each other and dogfight. But you are not kindred, so I still don't know why the fuck they put you in the trunk.
Were they looking for a fighter? Is that what they were saying?
We specifically told them kind. I don't know why they chose you and put you in our trunk, but they used it to get a favor from us, i.e. watching these two young ladies.
Frost, would you be so kind as to roll your intelligence plus either stealth or subterfuge for me? And while you roll that, the moment that Dia explains it so succinctly, and you think back to that moment where you became the sacrifice, where you...
Intelligence plus what?
Either stealth or subterfuge, where you became the anchor point for all of the raised potency of their connection with the curse, where you became the focal point for whatever additional spellcraft Calabalashi had done. So all of their potential success required a sacrifice, and you inadvertently nominated yourself, which explains the phrase stuck in your head, there's a god in the grove. It explains the strange number of prolific woundings you've received. It does not explain where those occurred or how they occurred, merely that they actually earnestly did. Looking down at your clothing and meditating on the fact that Dia has worked it out so directly leaves you with no doubt that somewhere along the way you have become the sacrificial anchor for the coterie. And here's the thing, as Seth's mind is working over that nut, turning it over and analyzing it as a jeweler would a fine uncut gem, you all feel his thoughts. More so than anything else, you feel their jumble, their confusion. You feel him parsing together a slew of things. Now, if you were alive, the solution or the idea of nearly solving a puzzle releases endorphins. There are chemicals that the body releases when you've achieved something, when you've lined things up, when you find your keys or your wallet, when your cell phone goes off with a ping or notification. But you guys are not alive. You are kindred. You are dead. Yet that feeling very much is still there, as like lightning in the bottle. The path is now illuminated. And you know it's due Seth. And security-minded though Frost may be, there are several things that stand out to him. He, having experienced more than a month of being dead, realizes that there's no sleep for the dead. You don't sleep, you don't dream, you don't have that wakeful, unrested feeling of having been asleep. You die for the day. It's a switch. It's thrown. It's like a breaker, like a circuit breaker. Someone, fate, God, the angels above, or whatever powers that exist within this world, push the breakers and everything's reset. You go from moment to moment. All of the evening rituals you all do to humanize that experience does not take away from the fact that you all don't sleep. There's no daytime activity. There's no daytime for you all. It doesn't exist. So if it doesn't exist for you all, how could the Castiglione sneak into the Piscateers during your day death and make off with Seth?
Well, the two teenagers that were not teenagers, young adults that were protecting our babysitting our kind, right?
Yes.
Which leads to the the way of thinking that they have kind, that they can do their bidding, just like Seth had Frost until his untimely death.
Which means they had to know where you were to begin with.
Piscateers, which isn't that... Where is it?
They had to know they were going to use you the night before. They had to know you would be there and not have separate places, which up until recently, you and Seth very much did. You technically still do. You're not sure how many other precautions he has in place, and you know for a fact Muzan most assuredly does, because he doesn't always die for the day at the Piscateers.
Seth gets frustrated and looks at Dia. You are the boss. You tell me what needs to happen right now. We've got the blood czars breathing down our necks. We've got the psychopath up in Zach's room. And I'm supposed to fight somebody at a near and immediate future. Are all of these things true? And what do you want me to do about any of that?
The problem is we still don't know how you ended up not here. We were all fell asleep here. How did you end up not here?
It's a mystery, and I won't lie. There's no way somebody should be able to break into the Piscateers and take me away. But they did. They did. And now the Castigliones are pointing me out as a fighter. for something. I hate to be that guy, but maybe we don't worry about the why right now or the how. We worry about the what. Because my central theme is protecting you as a senator, as the power behind our coterie. So
that is the problem. If they can come and take you during the day, they could come and just as easily have taken me. That is I am concerned as to how they got you.
So let's worry about that first. I mean, all these ephemeral sidetracks. The Blood Tsars have a huge operation. I've operated in Camarilla territory for a lot longer than anyone else. The Blood Tsars have a huge ability, but there's a reason they chose me versus choosing going after you.
Just something I want to make sure I didn't miss here. Seth, there didn't happen to be another body in that trunk with you, was there?
I tripped over something. There might be another body in there. I don't know. I was a little distracted at the time.
Oh, god damn it. Muzan's gonna storm out and head back to the car.
You know the only thing worse than being pickpocketed by a stranger in a tourist trap such as Times Square or Disneyland or Disney World or Great America? Because at that point it's a stranger reaching into your pocket and taking something of yours, and while it's infuriating, there is something worse. And that's when you know good and goddamn well no one was close enough to you. And you realize that somewhere between the grocery store, buying your purchases, and getting home, the one thing you left the house for, the one thing you have somehow dropped, lost, or forgot to bag up and bring into the house. And you get back to that trunk. There is a linen, rough spun cloth bag that was clearly used to bind someone's face. You can't really see through it, but it is the sort of thing that would be scratchy and be the first thing you'd remove. There are also 2 sets of broken zip ties, a small bit of blood. Clearly someone knows met the floor space of the trunk, which is still open because it was never closed. And as you look left and right, you even do the tourist trap of trying to look at the top of the buildings. Not that should be possible, but at this point, any fucking thing can happen. So you even do the whole ninja look, make sure that there's no one up climbing the side of a building, or you don't hear any splashing, so you don't think they went into the creek. But even as small as Dalton is, even as expanded are the spaces between the buildings, 15 minutes of stumble walking, there's about 75 different places you could have fallen or hidden, or God forbid if you have it in your head to keep walking to find some help somewhere. And sadly, with the Piscateers being the end of the entertainment district, moving toward the lights and the sounds of the people would be the smartest thing, the most accurate thing that someone would do. So there's a drunken, hideously disfigured individual of questionable morality, clearly out of it, heading into the entertainment district of Dalton.
And Muzan is going to make his way there, and he's going to try and rely on his bloodhound merit to try and sniff them out, if possible.
All right. And while that's happening, Muzan storming off leaves you all there with the bag, as it were. The bag of this moment where there is a strange, undeniable wish to keep everyone safe. And it's strange because while you all think of yourselves as good individuals, or as best as you possibly can be, the need and want to care for someone else's emotional well-being isn't exactly high on your priority of things. Yet as you all stand this close to each other, it is an undeniable fact you want the best for each other. Even being frustrated, even with the trickle of anger and all of those other emotions that are playing beneath the surface, there is a drive to protect the emotional standing of your associates. And there's a feeling of distance for where Muzan should be completing the circuit. And you feel it moving further and further away.
As that happens, Dia looks at Seth. Wait a minute. I just had a thought. You drink whiskey, don't you?
On a rapid and repetitive basis.
Oh, good God, that is why.
Wait, hold
You
on.
take that craving back. I don't want it.
Hold on. Are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Because right now, it sounds as if you are suggesting that we are each adopting one another's mannerisms as our own.
You can't tell me you didn't feel that. You didn't feel when he was thinking how it felt for him to be thinking, and how it felt when Muzan moved wherever Muzan is moving. We knew Seth was missing. And we woke up, we felt that there was something missing and something wrong. So we are all bound to each other, some way, some form. And I think that, yes, we are wearing off on each other.
Oh, good gods. I do hope none of my own, none of my inner ugliness rubbed off on any of you.
Charlie, Zach, let's try to keep perspective. The ugliness of me is far more abrasive.
When you met your wife, Seth, it was one of the defining moments in your life. For all of the years of being stellar, for being above the cut, for being above the grade, for understanding the way that things worked, the way that things in the world exist, there was a living embodiment. There was another opportunity. There was another option. There was another way. It was as if you were seeing for the first time, as if instead of hearing the description of color, you were able to take in all of its vibrancy. You didn't often think about it, and you push it down as often as possible, but there is flickers now of creamy, smooth skin that you know is not your wives beneath your fingers. There is the understanding that lightning may strike twice. There is the understanding of full, bright lips taking you into them. You realize that all of the braces, the abrasions and scars along your skin, all of them didn't come due to some bit of combat. It's indefatigably anti who you are to spare that moment of tenderness and softness for anyone, because in your mind you are still married. Yet you know what you have sampled. You know that you have enjoyed. You know that you feasted on and were feasted upon. But that's impossible. kindred don't operate during the day. And yes, as those flickers twist the knife of whatever amount of time, Seth was away, you all feel it, you all understand it. And patently, Zach, you understand the maneuvers that were used to pleasure the person who sought to seek dominance over you. There's a way to lead from the bottom. There's a true understanding that the power dynamic is exceedingly different than what most people expect in a dominant and submissive relationship, even if it's a temporary one. Words are worked out. A contract is all but agreed upon. There is the truth that the power of the sword is in its sheath.
Seth reacts poorly to this alleviation. For many kindred, this would be a positive release of gleam, but for Cotton, or for Seth, it is a deep and hurtful moment. He tries to circle around himself in the thoughts and the separations between own life and life, but he can't quite get there.
And speaking of not quite getting there, when trailing individuals, it would become very difficult to most to envision it truly as a hunt. To most. However, for Muzan, this is a training exercise. He has hunted kindred who have spent hundreds of years hiding what they are. He has hunted living individuals that thought themselves truly immortal, able to surmount and defeat death. He has hunted all manner of things. If it has crawled upon the earth or flew across the sky or slunk from shadow to shadow, he has found a way to kill more things than most kindred understand exist out there in the dark. Which is the frustrating part about following behind the drunk, as the waves of emotion bombard him. First, the pleasure that comes from spending time with a peer, the pleasure of touch. And it's a little distracting. He is able to push it down. He understands what pleasure is. There's no greater pleasure than a successful hunt. And then the guilt. And that's a little harder to shake off, because there are many moments in the existence he has carved out for himself since leaving his old coterie, his old pack, that has caused bouts of introspections that have lasted months, and trying to come to grips with and balance the truth of all of those hunts, the truth beneath it all. Everyone likes to bandy about the idea that beast I am, less beast I become. But the truth of the matter is, none of that bullshit is actually true. You get what you give. And it paints and changes how you see the world. And so while you justify and moralize why this is possible or why this exception to your ethics are viable in this particular situation. The truth is, everyone says this is the beast, but so far, looking at all of his past associations, looking at where he is now, there's the truth of it all. Beast I am. And everything else is just justification. And he keeps hearing, we skipped the light fandango. And he knows he's heard the song before, and it's had a meaning, but never as strongly as now. Everyone says it's about drug use, or it's about finding something worth dying for, something worth sacrificing for. There's 100 different meanings. But for him in this moment, it is coming to grips with the beast that he is. While at the Piscateers, Frost has never been exactly musically inclined. Yet as he begins to hum and sing to himself while you all discuss matters and deal with the bombardment of various feelings, that you're having a harder time than you think you should discerning their origination. You're not sure when you learn the song, the lyrics to the song, Frost, but it's the most apropos thing in this moment.
Give me a second as I look up that. Did not help.
Seth, you know the song. You've heard it in your dreams. You've heard it in your visions of what the future could hold. And Dia, you've heard the song being sung by Zach.
Okay, what's the song?
Frost.
Oh, great. You're making me do a thing? Okay.
I'm guessing it's the same song that Calabalar she was talking about
Skip
earlier.
the light fandango. Turn cartwheels across the floor. Yeah, a winter shade of pale.
A whiter shade of pale? Oh, that one.
I'm autistic, okay? I'm sorry.
Sorry, it's fine. I have Asperger's.
Hey, same here. High five. Okay. I'm sorry.
This is causing a very deep frown on Dia's face, because they know the person that brought the song up in the first place is Calabalashi. So they are thinking this has a lot to do with that particular person. but they've already had their fill of Calabalashi for the evening and don't wish to go back downstairs or wish to go back to the room and knock again. So there is the very distinct deliberate harshening off of their thoughts. Like they were taught to meditate and things like that, so they're doing that and blocking their thoughts from the others.
And Zach just starts shaking his head. Not that goddamn song again. I could go a whole century without hearing it in my head again.
Do we want to know where Muzan went and why? You should probably figure that out.
Well, I think he went to go check something in the trunk.
It does not take that long to check the things in the trunk. So I'm guessing whatever.
He went to check the other body that Seth may or may not have tripped over coming out of the trunk.
Hold on, Seth mentioned another body. Something tells me that body may or may not have decided to take a walk around.
Seth is definitely rehearsing his memory of this song because it was slightly an oldie when he was a kid, and his musical taste never really developed after that, after his turning. And it's deep.
Seth, do you have a way to contact Muzan? Or do we have to go look for them?
The only way to contact Muzan is to yell really loud in the direction where you last saw him traveling. I can do that because, well, it is my one. It's the same method I use with Frost, actually. Stuff turns down the stairwell that leads down to the car park and yells Muzan's name.
You've never seen Seth drunk before. You've never had the opportunity to enjoy him being addled or awash with emotional, if not actual physical and chemical inebriation. But that is clearly the state that he is in. The bombardment of feelings, the bombardment of emotions and memories stolen through whatever means they have been hidden is clearly too much stress. It is clearly evident in his speech. It is clearly evident in his mannerisms. It is the sort of behavior that Dia has grown accustomed to. Her lifetime of singing jazz, her lifetime of being around a social club or an adult's speakeasy, of being a purveyor of pleasure. But seeing it in a kindred, it's not something that she expected. Because normally, when kindred are awash in the full effects of whichever blood they've decided to be altered upon, the effects tend to be deadly. A blood-drunk kindred is about as dangerous as one could make the situation. Blood-drunk kindred awash in the feelings of being alive, but with all the strengths that come from the dead flesh that they've existed within. A blood-drunk kindred who is 100% in the grips of their sense and feeling of immortality and invulnerability.
There is that groan that most mothers have when they are entirely disappointed with their child and can't strangle them. That is the sound that comes from Tia's mouth looking at Seth. Please stop. Please just come in. Stop yelling. It's not going to do anything. And we need to get you put together at least before we can go out and look for Buzan. Stay here. So Zach, get them a drink, please, and I will go find clothing to put them in. And she marches towards the closet, very, very frustrated.
And Zach looks towards Seth. So what'll it be?
Something black with a trench coat.
I was referring to the beverage.
Well, blood, of course. Maybe with a touch of whiskey. Maybe, it's been a long day. Maybe scotch.
Whiskey doesn't save everything.
Whiskey saves every damn thing. If I have taught you nothing, learn that.
Zach looks over to the shelf to see what all is available to make what Seth requested.
Seth is obviously a little bewildered at this point. He is in his new realm. But
And as the coterie mates make themselves at home behind the bar while Dia moves about the many hidden alcoves of clothing, the many hidden closets full of things to dress all manner of individuals. There's a wide range of tastes and genres and styles and fabrics and patterns. And in that moment, in that brief, shining moment where there is some semblance of calm, it's almost meditative, cycling through the style shirt, whether it's a chambray or an Oxford or a polo even, because that is quite sporty, though most people don't assume it to be such these days. It was the original tracksuit after all. And moving through the clothing to find something that may properly costume Seth, there's a meditative peace that falls over them, almost as if they are a single-minded hunter. As if they are on the scent, as if they have caught the scent of prey. They know that if they course it to its end, if they hound it to its end, to tree it, then, well, it makes all things easier. And speaking of making all things easier, coursing a human is a little different than coursing a kindred. Coursing a human, typically, especially one fraught with emotions and caught in the unknowing confusion of having woken up in a trunk, is considerably more difficult. Now, the question here, Muzan, is do you initiate or try to do so while obfuscated, while hidden from public gaze?
He's actually going to put on the balaclava and all of that, and he's going to be pursuing at a fast walk, but all the while he's going to ask whoever he passes by, hey, do you see someone walk by who might have been really fucked up looking?
You mean the guy that was fighting the cops down the street? Yeah, he was over there.
I'm sorry, what now?
The fucking barbarian laying waste to Dalton's finest, they went that way. Yeah, oh my god, dude, look here, I got him on camera, I got the first start of it. And they start cycling through their videos and bring it up. There's a clip of there's only but one way to describe this. This would be Arnold Schwarzenegger's older, meaner, hideous brother. There are lacerations and claw marks down their back. There's this, well, with Muzan's experience in life, he knows what a gunshot wound looks like. There's several dotting the upper left quadrant of the person's back. There's clearly been chewed on by things that were larger than the average dog. There's clearly, and as they catch the individual's profile, you are surprised that they are not in fact a member of your particular blood.
Shit. Muzan's gonna run off in the direction that they pointed to.
There's fucked, and then there's fucked. There is a huge amount of non-flashing light police cars gathered around an apartment building, roughly just under a 3/4 of a mile from the Piscateers. The apartment building is just off the main strip. It's one of the places that you know for a fact that there is more than a little bit of sex work being done out of. It is plain nondescript. There's 3 or 4 ways in and out. It connects to the building next to it, and all of the windows have those thick, heavy, daylight obstructing curtains on them. Some of them are open now. Some of the windows are open, even though the curtains are in the way. That's how you know how heavy they might be. There is just a wash of fear as to what may be happening, because there aren't any sirens flashing on the cars. There aren't any police gathered on the street, but it's clear that those vehicles were exited with all due haste. There's a slight scent of blood on the wind. Nothing that the average person would notice, but for someone with the skills that Muzan has, it is evident that there has been and will be further carnage, because humans, as much as they like to separate themselves from the animal kingdom, are in fact animals. And there's 2 things that blood does to people. It makes them run away or run toward. It makes them want to avert their gaze or cheer it on. And in the case of most police officers, they've been trained to harness that caveman-like need for bloodshed. They need to run towards the danger. And one of the unfortunate side effects of that, sometimes they go seeking it out. Sometimes they're the catalyst of that danger that they need. It's like a certain amount of pressure and adrenaline and endorphins and dopamine that they need in their lives. It's the unintentional side effect. It's the same thing that happens with soldiers, the same things that happens with combatants of all stripe, boxers. Even in their old age, they get accustomed to a certain amount of violence in their life. They need those chemicals. They get despondent, depressed without it. And not for the first time this evening, Muzan realizes he kind of needs that in his life right now. He needs something that makes sense, and violence always makes sense. Might makes right. And it's not about any ethical or moral quandaries. There are very few positive, non-secondary feelings involved. It is simple. There's predator and there's prey.
Okay. So, assessing the situation. There's a building surrounded by a bunch of police cars. The man I'm after is almost certainly inside said building, correct?
Mm-hmm.
As much as he craves violence, he's also not stupid, and he's not going to just blow past 10 police cars only to get riddled with bullets once he's inside. So, Muzan is going to briefly duck into an alleyway where there's no one looking. He'll then throw up unseen passage to try and sneak past the police cars into the building.
Excellent. It's a very good tactically minded idea. And we like to reward sound tactics. Would you be so kind to roll your wits plus streetwise, or your wits plus investigation, whichever is higher?
That is a 2.
You got about 4 to 6 police cars responding to an incident. Why are there no flashing lights?
Muzan's going to, once he throws up unseen passage and starts heading over, he's going to first check the police cars to see if they've already apprehended him.
No, they haven't. There's nothing in the vehicle. The normal locked in place shotgun that sits between the driver and the passenger is missing from the first car, and he thinks nothing of it. But when he gets to the second car, and it's missing, and the third car, and it's missing, and the fourth car, and it's missing.
Yeah, he's gonna head inside.
Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your wits plus awareness? Do you have aspects or any heightened senses?
Bloodhound is the closest thing I have to that. Otherwise, no.
Okay, so go ahead and roll that wits plus awareness for me, please.
I'm gonna use a willpower on that one. 1 success.
There's always, in every medium, especially TV and movies, it's become so tropey. It was quiet. Too quiet. You know for a fact that there's at least 6 to 10 people with close quarter combat shotguns. At least 6 to 10 people with firearms. You don't smell any gunpowder in the air. You don't hear any yelling. You don't hear any gunshots. You hear the creaking of wood and several coughs and from the doors that you're passing. And then, as if sung by the smallest bird, wait. Okay, assigned to the blank body. They're moving to the roof. Close in. It's coming from above you. The building is 3 stories tall, which means roof is 4 stories from the ground. But there's something about the phrasing and the quietude used to express it that stir something deep down in your soul you didn't think resided there.
Shit. With all due haste, Muzan is going to start moving towards the roof.
Alright, give me one quick second. I need to look at the notes here, because there is a small bit of, there's just a small kerfluffle that, your doing so will arise. Arise, Lord Vader. Wrong one. Wrong note. Get rid of that. I didn't think it would come due, so I closed it out. But luckily for you, it's never that far away. Scroll. Gathering all the scrolling, we get to the portion of the evening that, if this was coming following a small bit of intermission, would be the death of Muzan, or how to fight beyond the grave. And would you be so kind as to roll? No, wrong one. There we go. It is your. Nope. Unseen. There we go. It would be your dexterity plus obfuscate versus theirs plus awareness. Let's see what they have. Oh, okay, that's not that bad.
Do I get to add my stealth to this or no?
No.
Dexterity and obfuscate. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna blood surge to boost my dexterity.
And you play with fire and manage to not get burned. You rouse the beast to come to your aid and assistance.
Aha!
And the moment you step out onto the roof, it feels as if you've touched the third rail. It feels as if you are walking through a net of electricity. And it is all you can do to not scream out loud. It is all you can do to not bare your fangs and leap upon the first thing to ease your pain with the suffering of something else. But you're able to resist it. You're able to choke down the weight that is there and the static charge running through you. It is as the last man, which is strange for a police officer because they are wearing police uniforms, but they all have balaclavas pulled down over their faces. Each of them holding a shotgun and one of them holding a nightstick, a good old-fashioned old-school nightstick. Before them, as if it's a shield almost, the tip of the nightstick pointing towards the hideous living version of a Nosferatu. His face looks as if it was mangled and someone tried to fix it by bashing it in with a bat. His muscles ripple, and he is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most horrendous thing you have seen outside of a mirror in quite some time. The cuts and wounds about him let you know that he is in fact very much human. The fear in his gaze lets you know that for all of his bravery, he is operating off of instinct. But these men are calling him a blank body. Alright, buddy, come on. Make this easy on yourself. We know what you did in Cincinnati. We know who you are. There's only one way off this roof. And that's with us. You can leap if you want to. But if you do, we'll make sure you stay down. On your fucking knees. Hey Smith, why do you keep watching the door? I don't know. I feel something. Eyes forward, fucker. We got things to do.
How many officers are there?
8.
And how many are looking at the one by the door?
2.
Damn it. Muzan is going to try and position himself behind the farthest back officer. The one that no one has eyes on. And will try and silently take them down.
Yes. Alright. You have a +1. Roll your dexterity plus stealth.
Does my specialty in ambushes count as well?
Yes.
I call shenanigans. I'm going to use a willpower roll.
Where does that put to place your willpower?
That is officially my last willpower that I can spend superficially.
Which is fine. You can play it to the bone. What's a little aggravated willpower? It'll be fine. Be perfectly fine. As you manage to evade their line of sight, there is a fear sitting in your stomach that wasn't there a moment before, because as you move, the gentleman who's looking at the door slightly turns as if he's tracking your steps, but he shakes his head as if he's seeing double or he has a headache, and he turns back. All right, let's close in. I got the rear. And as they move forward, pressing their numerical advantage against their target, you have the opportunity for a sneak attack. You could easily take this one out. It wouldn't be any sweat. It's a simple lunge forward, break the neck, or worse yet, lunge forward and do other things to him.
Muzan is going to go ahead and throw a prowess for this before anything else goes on. And he's gonna go straight for this guard's neck. Clean break.
There's no real need to roll. Your sneak attack is, without a shadow of a doubt, a devastatingly effective attack. It sounds as if you took several stalks of celery and broke them all at once. It is a foregone conclusion and a tasty snack as the blood splatters across Muzan's balaclava. Unfortunately, or fortunately, as the case may be, the moment that he does so, the moment that he snuffs out another living entity's existence, there's nothing keeping him from being seen. In fact, it's as if there has been a magic trick done and the trick has been revealed with a ta! And there he stands in all of his menacing glory, the almost physical twin in terms of size and menace to their target. So much so that their target responds with open eyes like, what the f? Although, with his particular accent and mangled throat, it comes off as, what the fuck? And speaking of what the fuck, back at the Piscateers, DFI is just a thing. It's giving a stylish detective. There's a lovely cashmere turtleneck that you can't fit because, well, things happen. There's certain anatomical features that men don't have to worry about. It would take a small bit of being taped down and wrapped properly to do so. And, well, you don't like to ruin the silhouette of an ensemble. He finds a lovely pair of pants you had intended to give to Frost because they're workable and they're breathable. And while they are considerably more than he probably makes in a week, they are still very, very stylish. And you match it with a medium weight trench coat, which should satisfy that niche of his to constantly wear such things. All in all, the outfit totals somewhere in the neighborhood of about $26,000. And of course, you pick out the accessories to match, along with a pair of socks and shoes. And you return with that ensemble to dress Seth in. And it feels as if you can hear a fight song in the distance, as if you don't have access to adrenaline or dopamine or any of those chemicals, but you can feel your anxiety ratcheting up as if there's something that is about to... All right, guys.
Choking past the lump in her throat. Something's wrong again. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Oh God. Something's wrong.
Stuff immediately zeroes in on the feeling of conflict and heads towards it. With Dia's words to spur on and Frost confirmation, he increases the speed, doesn't slow down, and heads towards that feeling of animosity and hurls. I mean, he has celerity a little bit, but mainly he's just using feet as hard as he can and running towards that feeling.
Wolf out? Question mark.
He may or may not crack and or break steps as he is running out of there.
I'm gonna go with yes. Seth, you still have my gun, right? OC.
You're not sure which is worse. The imminent feeling that is bounding off of your insides, or the fact that Seth takes off like a shot in the dark. He's there 1 minute, the next he's off and running. Frost, falling back on years of practiced experience, immediately falling into his shadow. What is it that Dia and Zach do?
Zach looks around like, okay, what's happening now? And he's basically following behind at a moderate distance, or as close to a moderate distance as he can.
watches Zach head towards the stairs, like following the other two, and just what are we thinking we are going to do in this? You have a knife. That's all. I'm good at talking. I don't know how to shoot things or fight. Whatever they're running towards is dangerous. I don't want them to go alone, but I don't know what I would possibly do to be helpful.
I myself am trying to figure out just what it is they're running towards.
Just a quick notion. Frost does take off his shirt before he shape changes. I just needed to point that out.
So much like Calabalarshi, Frost only wears one article of clothing. If you stand them next to each other on a typical day, you'd get one outfit from them. It doesn't take long. Following behind Seth to get to the closest approximation of the danger that you all feel. And it's so much worse as you all close on the scene. There are easily 6 police cars. 5 of them have no sirens or lights on. The 6th one, at least its lights are on. There's a 3-story tenement, and from the ground you can see the back of something huge. And I say something because it's bipedal. There are clearly 2 limbs at its torso. But from this distance, even in heightened senses, you don't quite want to make sense of the MC Escher-esque dimensions of its face, the number of scars and wounds it has across its back, the moistness from the sweat only making though stand out in hyper detail. And you can hear gunshots going off. You can hear the sounds of something animalistic. And speaking of something animalistic and gunshots going off, Muzan, you had their curiosity. Now you have their attention.
I am fully aware of that, and I have a plan, but we'll see if it works. Step 1. The guy he just killed is now his meat shield. He's just gonna hold it out in front of him for whatever bullets start coming his way while he has time to throw up toughness.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength plus athletics?
Can I also roll the rouse check for toughness?
Sure. Let's tempt the beast a little bit more, shall we? That's always fun.
Oh, he's getting hungrier.
Yes, he is.
And now strength and athletics?
Yes.
And he still has prowess up, I believe.
Yes.
Oh, I just realized I messed up on that. Rouse check. 1 second. Forgot the 1, and it's still a... That is 4 successes.
There is a limit to what even the highest caliber ballistic shield could absorb. Typically, it's enough to make sure that you walk away from the matter alive. That is not as much of a concern for Muzan as one would think. After all, they're just fucking bullets. Painful, but, it's survivable. So it won't kill him, or at least that's the idea. That's the thought. That's the hope. There's also, he's never had to test the limits of what the ballistic plating would do. But as he holds the body in front of him like a shield, using it to absorb as much of the damage heading his way as possible, he realizes that it too has its limits. Everything has its breaking point. And it is clear that as high effectiveness as the bullet shield is, it has exceeded that several times over. And as the first round tears through him, doesn't think much of it. Okay, that's gonna be a bitch to mend. But it's only once it starts burning afterward that he begins to get worried. It's only after, as the shells tear through the corpse in front of him and into him, that it realizes that something else may very well be afoot. Having rolled 4 successes, that leaves each of them with an additional +1, which means you, my friend, take a total of 3 unhalved levels of damage.
Superficial?
Yes, unhalved.
Okay.
The burning and the wounds afterwards is a bit troubling, but luckily they were through and through. They remained inside of his being. The question as to how much more damage would be accumulated. He's been shot by many things. He's never been shot or stabbed by anything that burns afterwards, except for fire. And they're not using tracer rounds. They're not using incendiary rounds. They're simply shooting him. Why is it burning like this?
Muzan is real quick. Once the meat shield is expended, he's going to throw the remains of it at the nearest still living officer and duck behind cover.
Alright, so your DC is 5. Go ahead, give it a roll and see what happens. And while you make that roll, downstairs on the ground... I'm sorry?
What am I rolling?
Strength and either melee or athletics, whichever one is higher. As you're throwing the body as if it is a cannonball. You're going bowling for police officers. Strange, weird police officers who immediately went to the shotgun and were wearing balaclavas, and we're speaking about blank bodies. And while that's happening, on the ground, hearing the gunshots and the screams of pain, what is it that you all decide to do?
Run faster.
Seth is being no other option other than running straight towards these deepest, darkest sounds of combat. He's running as fast as his vampiric body and his celerity will allow him to go towards where all the shit is happening. He's actually not aware that Muzan is involved in it because he was talking to Dia and Muzan went back to gather the other body out of the trunk. But Seth is balls out, gun out, running straight towards the combat.
While he pushes out of his mind the idea that Muzan may be involved, there's an emotional portion of his center that is clearly wrapped up in the idea that Muzan is in fact involved. There is a feeling he has that is unavoidable, undeniable, due to the bond and connection between the coterie who do their last ritual. He knows that's Muzan. And part of him, even though he would never admit it, and he tries to block it out, knows that he doesn't want to lose another family member. He can't stand the idea of any of them meeting their final death. He can't stand the idea of them being put in danger that he could avoid. He can't stand the idea of something or someone harming his family, because that's what he sees Muzan as. That's what he sees Frost as. That's what he sees Dia and Zack as. In his more elevated sense of self, his more Tremere aspect begins arranging blinds and cutoffs to explain it away, even though he knows very much that he is bound to them, which shouldn't be possible, but very much is. So, would you each roll your Frost, do you have celerity, by the way?
Nope, just the fortitude and animalism.
Alright, so your target is
Animalism.
dexterity and athletics. Your difficulty is 5. Your DC is 5. Your DC is 5. You have to tie. And Seth, your DC is 3, which what you do have above a level 2 celerity, correct?
I have 2 celerity. I have composure, so I'm taking a name shot. As soon as I see somebody targeting moves on, I'm going to go to a 3-point stance and put a bullet in the biggest part of that body.
Excellent. So in that case, don't worry about doing anything in regards to dexterity and athletics. You're going to take the hit. So go ahead and roll your next round. You can roll for the dice now if you like, but that would in fact be composure and firearms, but then you'll be taking the full damage this round. While on the ground with Zack and Dia, what are you guys choosing to do, having followed them here to this clusterfuck of an event? What is it that...
Wait, I just realized I fucked that up. Sorry.
What is it that the communicative roses are planning as they hear the gunshots and they watch as 2 members of their family go running into the gunfire, running through the building up to the roof and clearly around, stepping out of the space to probably get to have moments of their life stolen by all of that gunshot and gunfire up there on the roof.
Jack sees the 2 of them running up. Wait, what was that, Dia?
Does Dia recognize, like, do these look like regular cop cars, or is there something different about them?
These are in fact DPD. These are in fact Dalton Police Department cars. They are in 100% actual police vehicles. The fact that only one of the 6 has their lights on, none of them have their sirens on, is odd considering that there's active gunfire.
This isn't normal for DPD. Oh, something's wrong. I have a bad feeling about all this, and I don't want them to be able to call for help. So, we need to do something so that they, 1, can't get away once they come downstairs, and 2, can't call for help. Then we can go find out what's going on upstairs. And then, Dia, not knowing much about cars, just like opens the engine compartment of the cars and just starts ripping at shit.
Okay. Ian mentioned something about Zach having a knife, so I'm assuming Zach has his knife back.
Yes.
Okay, Zach basically goes for the tires of the cop cars.
Okay.
He's gonna slash some tires.
As you all work over the vehicles, as you all take the noise from the roof as accompanying music to destroying the vehicles, to getting a full look at them, to understanding and trying to do everything you can to make sure that these cars no longer will move afterwards, at least not quickly. There's a feeling of pain that washes over you all. There's a horribly scarring moment of pain. It's a matter of immense and immediate shock. It is as if you were buried at the seabed of a frozen river. Pain. As if you were tied to a cement bucket and dropped into the coldest of rivers, into a pit beneath it. That bracing, bone-chilling pain is what washes over you in the moment. Because while on the roof, as you all destroy the officer's means of escape, Muzan, you met the DC exactly. That leaves 2 levels of damage that you take. You're taking evasive action as the wall of bullets flows past you. Having met 4 successes, Frost, that means you take 3 levels of unhalved damage. Luckily for you, they're predominantly in and out. They are into you, through you, into the wall behind you, and you wonder how much stock that they buy in whatever firearm companies that they bought their ammunition from, because they clearly have no limit to the budget as to the number of live rounds they are willing to fire, which is almost the antithesis of a well-trained police force. The fact that they're wearing balaclavas is another something suspicious is afoot as the shells tear through you, leaving near cauterized holes in your resistance. Holding fast, willing to suffer and the slings and arrows of whatever is hurled in your direction, Seth. Unmoving, embracing, and being riddled, you aim down your sights. And for the first time in a very long time, you are inflamed with pain. These are not the standard shells. What should be simple in and outs and you shrug it off and mend later leaves burning, seared, cauterized dead flesh in its wake as it tears through you. In not taking any evasive action, you receive the fullness of the barrage. Please reduce your health by 5 health levels, please. Now, most police officers are trained that once the target is down, that the firing can stop. That you stop shooting, you don't reload, you don't commit any coup de grace. You make it a clean shooting. You make it was them or you, and you chose yourself and the public well-being. In the middle of this exchange, and it is a one-sided exchange, you all watch as a few of them reload. You watch as the horrifically ruined person behind them looks at what they're doing and decides that the best portion of valor is discretion, and a choice between through them or gravity they choose gravity and hurl themselves off the top of the building. Watching them reload with the skill and speed of armed forces combatants, people who have been fired upon and had to return fire quickly, is not the standard for the average police officer. Hell, Seth knows that, and he was a police officer. That is not standard stateside law enforcement protocol, nor skill. That is a tactical reload if you've ever seen it. And to have it done as if it was a choreographed dance speaks ill of what the potential outcome might be. And while the situation changes as they realize that not only are they still standing, but there is a wolf man of some sort, some creature, and a person aiming a firearm at them who is still standing after that barrage. It is literally for them as if they've been shot with adrenaline. They immediately begin taking evasive maneuvers and drop behind cover and empty the entirety, not just a wall of bullets. They're trying to build the Taj Mahal of casings and empty fired shells. They're trying to make sure that there's a mountain of bullets to bury everything that you may be. And beneath it all, being yelled back and forth across the mics that you weren't aware that they were wearing because they were using those throat mics. You hear, we have confirmed sightings, we have, and they're going into, there's four more, there's a total of 4, and their adrenaline is kicking, so they're speaking rapidly and they're trying to slow themselves down while they take aim and begin firing. Seth, we already know that you are spent the time aiming. You're targeting what you think may be their leader to make sure that they no longer exist. And in the doing, what is it that Muzan and Frost are doing? And what is it that Dia and Zach are doing as a flailing, falling mountain of muscle connects with the concrete below?
There is no chance to try to catch him at all.
There's always a chance.
Hold on,
Sorry.
Zach has
Did I
Cellar
figure it
beat
out,
at level 2.
Yeah, Zach and Seth are the only 2 fast people, isn't it?
No, Dia has fleetness too, so.
I'm just slow as fuck. Got it.
Yeah, but you got a buffalo on the hoof, so shut up.
The moment they stop to reload is the moment when Muzan's going to I can't. How many are still alive? How many are still up? Because he
All of them.
killed one and he threw the body at another.
Which didn't kill it, put him down. So you've killed 1 of the 8 total. You've impeded another of the 8, but all 8 are still
Seth took 1 out.
Yes, that's happening.
So-
That's happening now because he spent the time taking the pain, doing his best impersonation of a firearms-laden Rocky. It's not how hard you can shoot, but how many shots you can take and keep on shooting.
Yeah, Seth took it in the face just to make sure he got 1 of them.
So Muzan is going to activate Uncanny Grip. Yeah, I'm burning as much blood as possible tonight. He gets a bit hungrier. And he's going to use his strength to rip off a chunk of concrete from the roof and throw it at one of the police.
All right, sounds like a plan. We know what they're doing. We know what you're doing. Frost, what are you doing?
First, just to confirm, I use the wolf stat, correct?
Yes.
My actual stats.
Yes.
That's why I said, "Oh fuck, I fucked up." So Frost will go for the throat.
How's the game going?
The one probably, if there's one next to the guy Seth went after.
All right, sounds like a plan. So we know what all three of our coterie on the rooftop is doing. Dia and Zach, you were looking at this mountain of meat coming off the edge, and you're contemplating trying to catch them? Were you working together or separately to do so?
Well, Zach was certainly planning that. And I am
so
going
working
to
together, they're both running towards him.
Yes.
All right.
Hold on. Let me get to that particular page. Fleetness. Okay, rouse check. And Zach's hungry now.
Nothing like bloodshed to make you a little peckish. It happens. It's fine. It's understandable.
Okay, so Fleetness is activated now. What do I need to roll for her this section?
Well, both of you guys are working to... Would you all like to roll singly or separately? I mean, singly or together. Sorry. Zach, Dia, together or separate?
I've got 2 dots in celerity, but it sounds like you do too, so together works for me.
Yeah, that would probably be better.
All right, who has a higher dexterity between you two?
Okay, let me look. Zach's dexterity is 3.
So is mine. We're tied.
All right, so who would like to be the hand of fate in this particular case? Because you would get a dexterity plus athletics plus 1.
Okay, dexterity plus athletics plus 1. That would give Zach a total of 5.
Yeah, let Zach do it because I don't have athletics at all, so that would...
All right, sounds like a plan. We'll make it happen. Let's see how... don't worry about that. Gravity has nothing on you. You literally have hands, feet, and body faster than the eye can follow, which is great on stage. It's great to catch the eye and trigger the imagination of the audience watching. It's a bit of a surprise finding that you are not the only person there. You and Dia putting your bodies on the line to save, to catch, to keep gravity from driving this mass of muscle into the concrete below, snatch it out of the air. And gravity, being one to not be denied, sends you 3 tumbling, giving both of you, unfortunately, as members of the most noble of clans, the Clan of the Rose, the opportunity to look into the face of horror. This person is human. The blood about them is 100% blood, not vitae. And as strong as they were, it was clear that they had planned on no retreat, no surrender. They have had enough of slavery. They haven't had enough of being captured and prodded and poked and otherwise having every bit of their agency taken from them. They chose death instead of the hell of gunfire that is still happening on the roof. And despite all of that nobility of action, better to die on one's feet than to live on one's knees, and all of that goes along with it, looking into the face of this entity as you all come to a stop is enough to have each of you empty your gorge. It is the face of ruin. It is what would happen if all of the sins of mankind were visited upon one single entity and they had to live with that on their flesh. Looking into his face, you're not quite sure if it quantifies as a face. From this close, it is as if it is the most horrendous of jump scares to ever happen, and you don't have any way to look away. because it's transfixing. It's like watching a train wreck happen to a car crash while you're driving by minding your own business, causing another wreck to catch everyone else on the expressway in its grasp. It is the definition of horrid. While on the roof, if you all would be so kind, Muzan, would you roll your strength plus melee? And Frost, would you be so kind as to roll your strength plus brawl?
Silly question. How many of the assailants are still present on the roof, or did they all take the back jump off?
No, just the one took it. Just their initial double B, double beta target leaped off.
Okay, so we've still got 7 live targets on the roof?
Yes, we're working through that moment. Yes.
Well, 6, because there's the one that Seth shot right through the face.
Well, that's happening now. Remember, you spent the previous action in aiming and firing now. Oh, okay. My goodness. Someone was quite lucky, sir. And what does that place your willpower at? Frost.
4 superficial and one left. I've got 1 left, or I'm reaching into aggravated.
It was worth it for you in that moment to be so outstandingly and stellarly successful in the immediate return fire as one of their members' entire back portion of their mind empties onto the roof from Seth's shot, causing the shots in their direction to go astray. The horrid form of Frost's canine self tears into the throat, nearest the victim of a crushing. 2, and unfortunately 2. That's an additional 5 unhalved health levels total for Muzan.
5 additional?
Yes, because they're still returning fire, and you unfortunately only have 3 successes. So there is a point of diminishing returns, and it takes some people a lot of effort, a lot of brain power to get there. And you all slowly realize as the shots are coming fewer and farther between that they are tabulating the math of holding you all off. For every brave, big, bad, bold believer in their cause, there is always someone who, for them, every cost is too much. For them, the line is never close enough. And for them, escape is the only viable option for any situation where they could be lost. And watching as 3 of their members disappears, forever lost, they are doing the math and it's not adding up the way that they thought that it should. You can hear the frantic calls, and you hear more calls to shut up and reload, do the job. While below, you all hear the oncoming encroachment of sirens. You hear the sounds of first responders, except for they're farther away than downtown Dalton. They are coming from elsewhere. And it's clear that they've been coming for a while. Because it's not as if it is suddenly a tear in the night and you hear it. No, it's always been there, quiet from a distance, growing closer and closer and closer. And now it's finally close enough that you can tell that it is a siren, which gives you approximately, not long enough, but just long enough to make one particular action before they get there. What is it that you on the ground are doing with the encroachment of these sirens?
Oh, crap. Okay. So Seth has put a bullet through what he hoped to be the leader of this little town. And he is riddled with bullets. He's headed. He makes the sign and makes the sound of, let's get the fuck out of here. And he's headed towards where he thinks Dia is at to get her out of this immediate area. And he hopes like hell that Frost and Muzan are going to follow, but he's not waiting to find out.
Once Zach hears the sirens, he looks over to Dia. We gotta get the fuck out of here.
Agreed, but we came all this way to get this one, so we will take him with us. And she grabs him as much as she can, starts trying to drag him with them.
Frost moves on.
So these are apparently cops,
Apparently.
which I don't think they are.
No, they're wearing police officer uniforms. Well, Dalton PD uniforms. They are also sporting balaclavas and relatively heavy
That's
ordnance
fucking
that
weird.
use.
Is Muzan down on the ground, or is he not in torpor?
Not yet. He's still starting to take aggravated damage, but he's still standing.
Yeah. I know. How many are left on the roof?
Of the original 8, 5, you all have dropped. I'm sorry, 4. You guys 1 plus 3. Yep, that leaves 4 of them behind cover, aiming towards you all.
Oh, they're behind cover. And do we hear the sirens or no?
Yes, barely through all the gunshot. Gunshot is extraordinarily loud, especially up close. And these seem a little bit louder than they should be.
Well, our target's kind of gone. I'd say Frost would like wiggle around, turn around, give eye contact to both Muzan and Seth, and give a little, not growl, but like wolf noise that's like, right, that's like, and then moves his head, like signaling like we should get out of here.
And Muzan is pretty much gonna read the room and just straight soaring leap to the roof's door to follow everyone down and out the exit. And along the way, he's gonna try and mend a little bit. Oh, he's getting hungrier.
So while the boys
Oh, and runs off.
So while the cold ones are being cracked open by the boys on the roof, and you guys decide to exercise the better part of valor and attack to the rear, and seeking escape. To approximate, and we're going to average this out, Dia and Zach, would you each roll 2d for me? And each of the fellas, would you be so kind as to roll 1d for me, please? I'm just waiting on you, Seth and Ozan. 1d for me, please.
1 dice, you said?
Yes, sir. Seth, 1d, please.
Did we lose you, Seth?
Seth is definitely jumping behind cover and doing his healing thing and getting below decks. His only goal right now is to get to Dia and get her out. So he heals a little bit, and I've got a rouse check.
Could you please roll 1d for me, please?
I did. Do I need to roll an additional rouse?
No.
If I have to roll an additional rouse, I get it. But I'm only healing 1 round.
Yes, please. 1d.
It's above Zach's rouse check.
No, I need you to just to simply roll 1d. The exclamation V.
Oh. God damn it. Okay, so
I don't think it's a rouse check if that's what you're concerned about.
I thought that was the only check I had to make, but if there's an additional check.
A rouse check. I forgot that I'm at hunger 0 and not hunger 1.
You all, in a miracle and a conflation of events, over the next 30 or so minutes of running and hiding and getting lost on purpose so as to not lead anyone back to the Piscateers, find yourselves north of the creek behind the Piscateers, utilizing one of the many hidden passageways into the lower regions of the Piscateers. In your wild merry chase through Dalton, taking the long scenic way home, the chaos and maelstrom begun by killing wantonly the humans who were seeking to capture what they believed was a monster. And while Dia and Zach cannot bring themselves to look that person in their face, Muzan is quite taken with the hideousness that is possible in the living. Seth and Frost have not seen anything as disgustingly, morbidly human and monstrous all at once. It is the stuff of nightmares. And yet, he's able to speak in a garbled English in a clear sign that the vocal cords are just as ruined as the rest of him. When you all alighted the Piscateers. And for those of you with an occult of 2 or higher, you realize that this being, this human, this waste, because that's what you find out he has been, because you were given the absolute worst that humankind had to offer. His list of crimes will be easier trying to find something that he has not done. And while it is and had been to preserve their existence, it doesn't stop it from being dark, evil, or wanton. The kindest thing that you all could have done for this individual is put them out of their misery, or travel back in time to put their mother out of their misery. Is born a wretch by an accident of fate, and living as one by choice are 2 separate things. And there's the true thought of what you all have brought into the Piscateers, because while you all are monsters, at least there's a reason for it. You need blood to survive. It's not like you wantonly go out and destroy humans. It's not like you've engaged in cannibalism. It's not like you've had the need to force yourselves on the world around you, as this entity has. And looking at the living embodiment of all that kindred society is, and coming to grips with, you all will die for the day. He will not. And you have 2 relatively knowledgeable yet innocent humans who are staying with you. You have a staff of individuals who sleep through the various rooms scattered throughout the catacombs. You don't have any cells. And as that weighs on you all, and the path forward is as darkly glittering as the rest of your lives, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode, a great season finale, and we will see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Wait, is next time April Fool's Day?
Oh God.
We'll see you guys in prompt.
Wait, is that a yes, a no?
That is me.